Hey everybody, and welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the future, specifically the 2026 Chicago Bears. Now, this is a team that should be in an amazing spot, right? They've got what looks like a legit franchise quarterback on a rookie deal, which in the NFL is basically a license to go on a shopping spree. The expectation, the demand from the fans was for an all-out aggressive offseason, but that's not what happened. They were quiet. So the big question we're tackling today is this: is GM Ryan Poles' conservative strategy some kind of long-term genius at work, or is it a massive miscalculation that could slam a potential Super Bowl window shut before it ever really opened? Let's get into it. I think this quote just absolutely nails the feeling around Chicago right now. Think about it. Your Super Bowl window is theoretically wide open. Caleb Williams is heading into year 3. The city was buzzing, ready for blockbuster trades, for those huge, splashy free agent signings. The kind of moves that dominate the headlines for a week. They wanted fireworks. But instead, what they got felt a whole lot more like sparklers. A few interesting moves, sure, but nothing that really lit up the night sky. So what gives? Was this a giant missed opportunity, or is there a quiet, calculated method to all this madness? And that brings us right into our first section here: sparklers, not fireworks, where we're going to really analyze the Bears' 2026 offseason strategy. Because while the fans were screaming for those big, flashy signings, General Manager Ryan Poles, well, he went in the complete opposite direction. He took a much more measured, almost surgical approach. It was pretty clear he wasn't interested in just swinging for the fences to make a big media splash. Okay, so the philosophy here, it seems pretty straightforward on the surface. Instead of, say, handing out a massive 5-year, $150 million contract to a big-name defensive end, the front office decided to prioritize financial prudence. Their goal wasn't just about winning in 2026, it was about making sure they have the flexibility and the cap space to extend their own young, homegrown talent in 2027 and 2028. You have to admire that kind of long-term vision, you really do. But man, it is a high-wire act. By playing it safe now, they've left some pretty glaring, immediate holes on this roster. Vulnerabilities that, if they're not careful, could undermine this entire season before it even gets going. So, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to project the 53-man roster and see exactly where those gaps are. Pinpointing these weaknesses is absolutely crucial because it's going to reveal the almost unbearable amount of pressure this team is putting on its upcoming draft class to step in and be immediate, high-impact starters from day one. Let's start with the position that everyone's going to have their eyes on, the wide receivers. Look, there's just no way to sugarcoat it. Losing a true number one, a dynamic playmaker like DJ Moore, is a massive blow. The question that's going to hang over this team all season is whether this new look group is actually any better. All that pressure now falls squarely on the shoulders of Rome Odunze. He's coming off a second season that was just frustrating. He was dealing with a nagging foot injury that clearly limited him, and he had some really uncharacteristic drop issues pop up. Then you've got Luther Burden III, who showed some incredible flashes of promise and looks like he could emerge as the team's top guy. But that's the key word, isn't it? Could. That is a whole lot of potential to bank your season on. This is a young group that needs to grow up, and they need to do it fast, for Caleb Williams' sake. And then, just when you thought things were settling down, another major shockwave hit the offensive line with the sudden retirement of Drew Dalman. We're talking about a 27-year-old Pro Bowl center. That's a brutal, completely unexpected blow that you just can't plan for. The team scrambled and reacted by signing Garrett Bradbury, a veteran and a Super Bowl winner from New England. And you can see the trade-off, right? Bradbury brings a veteran presence, a steady hand. But Dalman, he was a rising star, a guy you could build your line around for the next 10 years. He was supposed to be the long-term anchor. This move, it really feels like a short-term patch for what could easily become a very serious long-term problem. All right, let's flip over to the defense, where the edge rusher position is waving a giant red flag. Outside of the very talented but sometimes inconsistent Montez Sweat, the depth chart is, well, it's alarming. The team is absolutely counting on a huge leap forward from second-year player Austin Booker. And behind him, you're banking on Deo Odeyingbo and Shamar Turner to come back to full strength after suffering major season-ending injuries. That is a massive, massive gamble. We're talking about soft tissue injuries, potential loss of explosion. These are very real risks that could leave the Bears with practically no pass rush at all opposite of Sweat. And if that happens, the whole defense suffers. And believe me, the concerns don't stop there. At linebacker, swapping out Tremaine Edmunds for Devin Bush is a really fascinating move. You're basically trading size and that incredible length for pure speed and sideline-to-sideline range. Now, against modern NFL offenses that love to spread you out, Bush's ability to cover ground could be a huge, huge asset. But what happens when you face a power running game? Is he going to be a liability where Edmonds' size was so valuable? That's a huge question mark. Then, in the secondary, the departure of Jaquan Brisker leaves a gaping hole at strong safety next to Kobe Bryant. I mean, who fills that role? Right now, it's a complete mystery. And finally, on the interior D-line, sure, they signed veterans like Neville Gallimore and Contavious Street, but that adds bodies. Does it add real impact? This group is screaming for a true three technique who can consistently create pressure up the middle, which is the absolute cornerstone of this defensive scheme. So you've got all these holes, all these question marks, and as ESPN's Adam Schefter reported, very little cap space left to do anything about it. So what's the plan? Well, the Bears have essentially pushed all of their chips to the center of the table. They're betting the entire house on one thing, the 2026 NFL Draft. Their whole offseason strategy, their whole season really, it all hinges on hitting it big in the draft. No pressure, right? So it's time to turn our attention to the draft. And remember, after Ryan Pohl's absolute home run of a draft class in 2025, expectations are sky high. So we're going to run through a mock draft and see exactly how Chicago can use its picks to try and turn those off-season sparklers into some real, genuine fireworks by addressing all those needs we just laid out. The first move they make is a really smart strategic one. Instead of just staying put in the first round, the Bears make a trade, moving back with the Las Vegas Raiders. They send their first and fourth round picks to Vegas, and in return, they get a second and a third round pick. Now, you might be asking, why would you do that? Well, it's because this draft class is widely seen as being incredibly deep with good players, but maybe not as top-heavy with those truly elite blue-chip talents. So the goal for Poles is simple. Get more bites at the apple, accumulate more picks in the top 100, which gives him more shots to find guys who can come in and contribute right away. It's a classic, smart play to maximize your value. So with their new first pick at number 36 in the second round, the Bears snag defensive tackle Lee Hunter from Texas Tech to plug that massive hole in the middle. This is a classic example of a team trusting the game tape over the workout numbers. See, Hunter had a pretty poor combine, which might cause him to fall in the draft, but his performance at the Senior Bowl was, well, it was legendary. He was basically unblockable. He was consistently winning with a powerful bull rush and a surprising amount of quickness for a man his size. And at 24 years old, he's more polished and pro-ready than your typical rookie. He has the frame and, more importantly, the technique to be a day one starter at that three technique spot, giving them that interior disruption they've been so desperate for. Later in the second round, they address that thin defensive end group with a local kid, Gabe Jacas from Illinois. Now, Jacas is the exact kind of powerful, run-stuffing defensive end that defensive coordinator Dennis Allen absolutely loves. At 6'4", 260 pounds, he has the size and the length to set a firm edge against the run, which is something the Bears really struggled with last season. Now, he's not an elite speed rusher who's going to bend around the edge, but he wins with brute power, a motor that never quits, and what scouts call heavy hands. He's a tone setter, a team captain, a guy who's going to immediately bring a tougher identity to that defensive front and push Austin Booker for that starting job from the first day of camp. Now we get to the third round, and they may have found their long-term answer for the Drew Delman problem. Center Sam Hecht from Kansas State. This is just a fantastic value pick. Hecht is a technician, through and through. He might not be the most powerful lineman who's going to blow guys off the ball, but his understanding of leverage, angles, and timing is completely off the charts. He's a perfect fit for a zone blocking scheme, where his intelligence and his quickness will allow him to consistently get to the second level and seal off linebackers. For a team that desperately needs a reliable anchor to protect Caleb Williams for the next decade, Hecht's high floor and incredible football IQ make him an absolutely ideal selection. And to fill that void in the secondary, the Bears go with safety Zakee Wheatley from Penn State. And honestly, the fit here is just about perfect. He's a true strong safety, an enforcer in the exact same mold as the player he's replacing, Jaquan Brisker. Wheatley is at his best playing down in the box, providing physical run support and delivering those big, intimidating hits over the middle. Just imagine pairing his aggressive downhill style with the incredible range and ball skills of free safety Kobe Bryant. That gives the Bears a really complementary and potentially fearsome safety tandem to lock down the back end for years to come. And finally, way down in the seventh round, the Bears decide to take a big swing for the fences at wide receiver with J. Michael Sturdivant from Florida.
Look, you're not drafting this guy for his college production. You're drafting him purely for his insane athletic profile. At 6'3" with 4.4 speed, his 9.96 relative athletic score, that puts him in the 99th percentile of athletes at his position. He's a total developmental project, but his combination of size and speed is something the Bears receiver room just doesn't have right now. If the coaching staff can refine his route running, he could become a legitimate deep threat and a red zone nightmare. It's the definition of a low-risk, high-reward pick that could pay off in a huge way down the line. Okay, so after all of that, the quiet free agency, the calculated trades, the very targeted draft class, we arrive at our final section. Better or just different? This is where we're going to weigh the players who walked out the door against all the new faces coming in, and we're going to try to answer that ultimate question about this team's true direction. So let's just look at this table for a second. In the departures column, you see some serious, established veteran talent walking out that door. DJ Moore, Drew Dalman, Tremaine Edmonds, Jaquan Brisker. These are Pro Bowl level, proven, high-level NFL players, known quantities. Then you look at the addition side, and it's a completely different story. You've got a couple of solid, but perhaps not spectacular veterans in Garrett Bradbury and Devin Bush, and then the rest of the impact talent is coming from the rookie class, Hunter, Jacaz, Hecht. The Bears are undeniably younger, and they are for sure cheaper. But the big question remains, are they actually better? And that brings us to our final big picture question. With this completely new look roster, one that is being fueled by a draft class they're absolutely counting on to make an immediate impact, have the Chicago Bears truly improved? Or are they just shuffling the deck for the 2026 season, hoping for the best? The answer? Really, it just depends on your perspective. This is a clear, undeniable gamble on youth, on coaching, and on potential over proven veteran production. If these rookies hit the ground running and play like veterans, this team could be incredibly dangerous. But if they struggle, if they look like rookies, it could be a very long season in Chicago. So what's your take on all this? I really want to know. Was this a masterclass in long-term sustainable team building by Ryan Poles? Or was it a massive failure to capitalize on a championship window? Drop your take in the comments below. I'm especially curious to hear from you guys on which one of these rookies you think will make the biggest impact in year one. We'll be down there reading and responding to as many as we can.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us for this deep dive here on NFL Nexus. If you found this breakdown valuable, and I hope you did, do us a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out more than you know. And make sure you ring that little notification bell so you're the first to know when our next explainer drops. And hey, one last thing. If you're looking for a great gift for the football fan in your life, or maybe you just want a fun way to relax yourself, you can really help support the channel by checking out our custom NFL Nexus coloring books. They're awesome for fans of all ages, trust me. The link is right there in the description, or you can just scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you for the next breakdown.